All right, we are back with another Growth Lab training session, and today we are joined by marketing experts Phat Chiem and Rhian Beutler, both two very experienced marketing experts who've hosted many training sessions for us over the last 12 months. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks so much.
Here.
So, Phat, the storytelling, what can we expect to learn from you guys today?
Well, we're going to really talk about the importance of storytelling and why every merchant on this webinar really needs to learn how to tell a great story around their product and around their brand, because it's a great way to engage your customers, create long-term loyalty.
Awesome. And Rhian, from your side of things, like, being an SEO expert, how important is storytelling and copywriting from an SEO perspective?
Well, content is king, and I'm so excited to be here today because I love content. I talk about storytelling and the importance of copywriting, and we're going to learn from a master in the subject. So we're in for a great ride. So very happy to be here.
Yes. Buckle up, sharpen your pencils.
Buckle up. Let's
and here we go. I'll be in the control room. In case you're wondering, we will be sharing a full replay of the training session along with the slides and all the pro tips and tools that Rhian and Phat might be dropping in the training session today. And if you haven't already, check out our Growth Lab community on Facebook. I'll be dropping a link to that as well. And I'll hop into the control room now. Take it away.
Thanks, Hans. Real quickly, I want to just introduce myself for people who have not met me before on these webinars. My name is Phat Chiem, and I am the founder of StoryCraft. It's a content marketing agency I started after years of working in journalism. So that's my background, not necessarily in marketing. I come from a different world. I started as a reporter at the Chicago Tribune. So say hello if you're from Chicago. Did that for a number of years, and then jumped online and started working for Yahoo as an editor on the homepage team at Yahoo, which was a great place to learn about how people consume content on the web. And then after that, I started my own agency, again, called StoryCraft, and we're going to drop a link into the chat with so you can see our agency. But now I help brands tell their best stories. That's how we put it, and it's a great. I love working with entrepreneurs and people like you guys. I do a lot of Shopify clients. So it's great to be here today and great to have you on. And Rhian, you want to talk about your background a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to meet y'all. I am Rhian Beutler, and I am the COO and co-founder of Venntov. We're Shopify experts building Shopify apps. We've been in the App Store since day one. So we've been around for quite some time. Before I came and started working with Shopify, I was actually a business banker. So I have a lot of experience working with businesses who were between $0 and $2 million in revenue, which I think a lot of us can relate to. And then I went into the digital space. I actually started in 2013. And while bootstrapping our app development company, I did SEO consulting. And that is how I'm here today. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here today because SEO is such an important part of good copywriting. You should always be thinking through your practices as writing your copy. And so we're going to be tag teaming today and showing you both good copywriting and good SEO, right? So yeah, for sure. So without further ado, I'm going to go into the presentation, and just as a reminder, we're going to give you the full presentation at the end of the. If you're on our email list, you'll get the presentation and the full content, and also, of course, a replay of the event today. So I'm going to start off the presentation now, and here we go. Great. So let's go back here. Yep. So today we're going to talk about just to quickly go through the agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to start off by talking about how important storytelling is. Then we're going to talk about what you should be putting on your homepage. Then we're going to give you some tips on what we call storyfy your content. Basically, how do you use the techniques of narrative and storytelling to infuse your content with great stories. Then we're going to really talk to you about how to do a really great product description and some tips and tools to do that. We'll be going into the Shopify product tool to show you the best ways to do that. And then my favorite part of the entire event is really going into your website. We're going to pick a few websites from the chat and really give you some live coaching and give you some feedback on how to improve your own websites here. So let's talk about first the power of storytelling. Why should we even talk about storytelling today? Well, storytelling really allows you to add more meaning to your products, to give your products more meaning. And when you do that, you actually increase the value of your products, right? We're going to show you some examples of that. Good storytelling helps your customers see how their products can fit in their lives, right? You're painting a picture of the lifestyle and world that they're going to inhabit with your product or your service, right? And because we're in a digital format, right, we don't have that in-store experience of people browsing through a store and touching something and really feeling what that product is gonna be like in their hands, in their life. So storytelling helps create that, replaces that sensory experience. And then finally, one of the biggest sort of benefits of using storytelling, you're really creating an emotional connection with your audience, right? Your emotion is one of the most powerful ways that you can convince someone that your product is the right product for them, right? So here's an example, right, from Best Made Company. They're a brand out of New York City. They got kind of really famous for making these beautiful axes, right? But you can essentially find this kind of axe at Home Depot for $35, right? But through really good storytelling, through understanding what their tribe is inspired by, through great photography, they elevate this piece, a pretty inexpensive piece of handcraft into something that's worth a lot more, right? And that's what we want you guys to do with good storytelling. And so when you listen to the founder of Best Made talk about, the brand, they realize that not everyone is going out there and chopping wood with an axe, right? These are basically hipsters in cities like Chicago and New York and LA, who probably had not stepped foot in a forest in a long time, right? But the point is, the axe is a storytelling device, right? It's a way for people to tell their own story, to say, this is who I am. I'm kind of like this outdoors guy, right? And so this axe in my home represents that. It's like a as the founder says, it's a window into a place we want to be, right? And that's what storytelling does, is paints this picture, this world, and creates this window into a world that we want our customers to inhabit and that they want to inhabit, because it's part of their story. And that's what storytelling helps you do, is tell your customer stories, right? So let's talk about your homepage, which is obviously your most important page in terms of copywriting. In the newspaper business, we have this concept called above the fold, right? Which means what's the headline that's above the fold when you fold a newspaper in half, right? And that's kind of like the headline of the day, right? And so the same concept applies to your website. The first thing that people see on your website really needs to inspire action, right? And that means you need to write something that really gets them engaged with what your product is and what you're selling, right? And so in marketing, we call this your unique selling proposition, your USP, right? And so you really want to spend that really valuable real estate up front, really conveying your value proposition, right? And so really what you need to do is you need to kind of do three things, right? You need to be super clear about what you're actually selling. You need to tell people why they should buy it. And you need to tell customers what you want them to do, right? Whether that's browse a selection of products, or download a piece of content, whatever it is you want, or take a quiz. A lot of websites are asking people to take quizzes to understand what kind of consumer they are before they go to the rest of the website. So you'll be amazed at a lot of websites you go to. You look at it and you still don't have any idea what the website is actually selling. Rhian, do you have any kind of feedback in terms of like what should be done in that first part of the website?
Yeah, I love that you point out that you should make it super clear with what you're selling, because when you are able to drive somebody to your store, right? That's the hard part. You don't want them to then bounce back off because they're like, why am I here? What am I doing here? And that actually impacts your ranking in Google, is the time spent on your website, including your homepage, which is often the gateway to the rest of your store. I also love that you talk about the homepage as being above the fold, because I use a newspaper analogy all the time. And that's when you're doing titles and meta descriptions. I always say it should be like the newspaper title and the byline. And why am I clicking on this title? And I love how you framed this, because if you can capture people here on the homepage, you can then push them down through the funnel into the next place. And like I said, the longer people are on your store, the better it looks in Google, because Google looks at three things: EAT. Well, they look at a lot of things. They look at over 200 signals. But for the purpose of this conversation, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So you're able to start building those right here on the homepage.
No, that's such great advice there. I think the one thing I talk about with my clients is the more that you can get a customer to drill down into a product page, the better your homepage is doing, right? Because we know from research that people who look at product pages are more likely to buy, right? So your homepage is sort of like your opener, right? You have to get people interested enough to drill down into a product page, right? So that's the job of this homepage. So what I see often when I work with a client is a website, like a Shopify website like this, where it's basically a bunch of products with price tags. There's no sense of like who the audience is. There's no sense of what am I trying to solve with my brand, with my product, right? It's very transactional. You're just asking people to look at products and ask and getting them to try to figure out what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to do for them, right? Versus if you look at a similar brand of home decor, they tell you exactly what they do, right? In one sentence. That's in this case, we make it easy to set a table you love, right? So immediately they understand who their customer is, and they're messaging how they're solving for that problem that the customer is facing when they come to a brand like this, right? Anytime your customers always have they're looking to solve a problem when they come to you, right? And you need to be able to say right away what you can do for them, right? So I love this one line that says, we make it easy to set a table you love. You know immediately what they do. And then, of course, the call to action is very clear. It's shop all products, right?
I love that, by the way. That copy is great. Yeah.
Allbirds, you guys know Allbirds, I'm sure. It's the shoe brand out of San Francisco. They've really blown up in the direct-to-consumer world. What I love about this line here and this copy here is that, number one, it tells you exactly why they're different, right? Because they're shoes made out of wool. Now you got to remember, back when they first launched, this was a thing. This is a new thing. Like, wow, shoes that made out of wool. Like, who would have thought that, right? And now, of course, you have Amazon copying them and all that. But this was a big thing when they first came out. And then it also tells you why it's important, why that matters, why you should care that a shoe is made out of wool. Well, it turns out that the most comfortable shoes in the world are made out of wool. So really good copy here that tells you immediately why you should buy it, why they're different, and then gives you a very clear call to action: shop men or shop women, right? Very clear here. This is a client of mine that I worked with recently. They're a jewelry brand. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to think about what is the customer trying to do when they are shopping for engagement rings, right? You really want, what we came up with this concept is being able to say that this is part of my story, what we call our forever story, right? Because when we get married, when we get engaged, we want it to be forever. We want it to be like this big fairy tale. And that kind of, this is that part of the emotional connection, emotional storytelling, right? You want to understand what I call the emotional bias. Every customer who's coming to you has an emotional bias, because we know that every shopping decision is an emotional decision, right? We're not logical a lot of times when we shop for things, right? So when you can pull on people's emotions, when you can say, hey, we're a brand that really is going to help you tell that forever story, you start to kind of, again, speak to people on an emotional level. And then, of course, a very clear call to action, browse engagement rings. You know exactly, we're telling the customers exactly what we want them to do, right? And then just another example here.
I love this one.
A different example. You guys know Lunya. Lunya is one of my favorite new direct-to-consumer DTC brands. If you know this, it's a brand of modern sleepwear for women, so sleepwear for the modern woman. But what they've done in this one line, which is sort of, of course, a double entendre, right, is that they message right away the personality of the brand, right? Personality is a huge part of branding that I don't think enough brands think about, which is that we all have personalities. Some of us are goofy, some of us are more serious, some of us are sophisticated. And personality helps people respond to you on an emotional basis, right? Because some of us are attracted to certain people, right? And brands are the same way. And what they've done here is message, we're an edgy brand. We're a brand for the modern women. And just in one sort of 3-word phrase, they convey that, right? This is just really brilliant copywriting right here. And again, another clear call to action: shop sleepwear.
I also, real quick, want to, on that slide, point out something.
Sure.
And that's that they have developed this really great kind of typography and vibe for their page. And while that might sound like it's not important for search, again, it is, because the longer you can keep people on your page, the better it is. And so I'm looking at this page, I'm kind of understanding what it is. I'm like, oh, it's sleepwear, but it looks kind of bougie. I like bougie things. Let me look into this more. What is this? And so I really think Lunya is a cool example. I recommend everybody check it out and nav through the pages because they do a really great job.
Well, that's absolutely a great point. I think design, people don't think enough about design and photography and how that completes the story, right? Because you look at this photography, it's very different from a lot of photography you see on product pages, right? It's a lot more sophisticated. There's kind of a dreamy quality to it, right? Almost a cinematic quality to the photography. And then, of course, what you're saying too, the very clean topography, the clean kind of look and feel of it, immediately messages to you that this is a very sophisticated brand. This is not the kind of pajamas that your grandmother wears, right? This is very different, and this is the brand for me, right? Or this is a brand for this type of modern woman. So they know what they're doing. They're doing a really good job here of conveying that. And by the way, guys, we're doing polls. So if you click on the polls part of the chat, you'll see that we're going to do occasional polls. And let's just see. Let me just go through here. One of our first polls is, what industry are you serving? So let's have people tell us what part of the what kind of products you're selling, and then we're gonna see who's in our audience right now. And so, going back to the presentation, what is really important, what I find really important, especially for a new brand, is that you need to speak directly to your audience and convey to them who you think your audience is, right? And what you're trying to do for them, how you are empowering them as a customer, right? And I talk about this a lot with my clients. And it's this concept that people don't necessarily buy the best products. They buy the products that make the most sense to them. They buy the products that resonate with them, right? And so on an emotional level, right? So you have to somehow position this product in a way that it feels familiar, it feels like it's useful, it feels like it's going to fit into their lives, right? So as an example, here's a Shopify client that I worked with. They are a vegan boutique. They sell vegan accessories. And this was their old homepage, right? And so what you don't get here is any kind of messaging above the fold, like we were talking about who they are and what customer what they're trying to solve for, what's the problem they're trying to solve for, right? And then the pictures are all over the place. There's like there's like a logo right in the middle, and there's also a logo at the top. So there's kind of like on a visual perspective, it's kind of all over the place, right? Don't you think?
It's all over the place, yeah.
And so this is what we did for them. This is the new homepage, right? And so what we did was, first of all, improve the photography. So, that's right away you get a very different sense of the brand. And then we added this this line here, these couple of lines that really speaks directly to who they think their customer is, which is that what we'll do is give you fashion kind to people and animals, right? And then we'll show you how to live consciously without sacrificing beauty, style, or quality, right? So immediately we're telling you who we are as a brand and what we're trying to do for you. So do you have any feedback on the copy here and how we changed it?
I do. I actually really love this, right? Because immediately I see this, I think upmarket from the last slide. Right. I'm thinking this is going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's probably worth it. And that's also important when you're drawing people in. You also, with this copy, you're integrating keywords kind of without even meaning to. And that's the beauty in good copywriting is this is a vegan boutique. We know this now, right? So you wrote this in, and perhaps you wrote it with keywords in mind, but now you have keywords in here and it's premium. So it's a high quality, and Google's algorithm is picking that up and thinking this is upmarket vegan goods. And they know that. And they also know cruelty free. Like I can see the keywords on this page just kind of littered around without it feeling forced. I'm sure we've all seen it. It's like, when an eBay listing and you're like, yes, I get that those are your keywords, right? Because they're like smashed in. That you can use keywords in a way that feels so organic and so beautiful. And this is how you do it, y'all. Because you're talking about fashion, you're talking about veganism, you're talking about conscious living, sustainability, and Google does something called neural matching. So it can match ideas like conscious living with sustainability. You don't have to necessarily say both things at the same time. So I really love the positioning on this. It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Great job. Good build.
Thank you. So let's go back to this poll. So we ended the poll, and let's look here. Wow. So we've got 46% of you in fashion, apparel, or jewelry. So that's so we're showing some great relevant examples for you today. 12% are in beauty and cosmetics, home goods at 17%. Nobody, pretty much a few people in consumer electronics. A few people in health and fitness and baby care, toys, and food. So really, we've got a huge representation from the fashion, apparel, and accessories world, which I don't find very surprising at all, actually. A lot of my clients, as you can tell, come from that world. Let's keep going. What I love, so this is a—
Speaking of fashion and apparel.
Sure. Yeah.
That's another fashion and apparel, but with utility, it looks like.
Oh, yes, absolutely, for sure. Do you know, Rhian, do you know Dry Robe at all?
No, but I feel like I need to now because I look at this. I'm a sucker, y'all, for great marketing. So good copy, again, inspires action, right? Good copy tells you exactly what, it makes you want to jump and kind of buy something, right? So this is they specialize in making these robes, or these big fluffy robes that when you're like surfing, or when you're swimming, or when you're outdoors and you just need a warm blanket to cover yourself while you're changing and just after you come out of the water, right? Super useful piece of clothing here. And so what I like about this copy is you don't need a lot of words to convey what you do, right? Get changed, stay warm. Immediately you understand what that means, and with the picture, it goes together really well. But then what I like here is further down the homepage, what they've done is they've talked about a little bit more about the brand itself and what the brand represents, right? And so here they say,
Embrace change and actively seek experiences. Opt outside and be a part of life's extraordinary moments, right? So this is something I talked about a lot with my clients, which is that the best brands transcend product, meaning there's more to your brand than just the product you're trying to sell. What else is it that what's the bigger story that you're trying to convey? And for them, it's this idea that our customers are not interested in just the status quo. Our customers are seek adventure. Our customers want to live extraordinary lives, right? And that resonates with people, right? So again, people buy products that resonate with them, that mean something to them, right? And this is their way of saying, if you're this type of customer, you're the right customer for us, right? So I really love this type of brand storytelling.
Yeah, this is exceptional. I love, I'm sure many of you feel this way, and perhaps it's because I stare at stores all day, but I see something like this and I'm thinking, can I use it? Should I use it? And I'll probably get retargeted for this later, right? I'll go on the website, maybe I'll think about it depending on the price point, because we all know, right? If it's above a certain price point, people tend to come back. They don't necessarily buy that first time, but you target them once on Facebook or Instagram ads, and then all of a sudden, they're coming back and they're converting. And especially with storytelling like this, I love that they have a hashtag in there as well. That's something Movement did really well and executed right out the gates. And then people are using the hashtag to share your story. But you got to pick that hashtag up front and you got to stick with it.
Yes.
You can't change it down the road.
Right. So having a brand, what I call a branded hashtag is a great device, a great strategy. I know that Warby Parker did this really well with their try at home glasses, right? Yeah. So what people would do is they would upload all of their different try at home looks and ask people, ask their readers on Instagram, like, what's the best looking eyeglass I have out of these 5, right? So they're really getting the community involved, and that was all done through their hashtag. So that's a great point there. And so part of storytelling is understanding that every story needs a hero, right? Every great story has a hero, right? But often what I find the pitfall that a lot of brands fall into is that they make their company the hero of their copy rather than the customer, right? And you really need to position your customer as the hero of the story. And this is what I call you versus we language, right? So when you are spending a lot of time talking about yourself, you're saying, we do this, we're great at this, our product does this, our product is amazing, it does this. And what you lose sight of is this understanding who your customer is. When you use the you language, it says that it conveys that you understand their struggle, you understand their pain point, you understand what you're trying to do for them, right? So as an example, here is a t-shirt brand. And I love t-shirts because they are the ultimate commodity, right? You can get t-shirts anywhere. Every single apparel brand has a t-shirt. So what makes you buy one t-shirt over another, right? It's all branding. It's all about storytelling. And so what this brand does, it's called So Worth Loving. Some of you guys might know it. It's a brand that's targeted toward young women to make them feel better about who they are, right? And so when you go to the website, the first thing you see is this line that says, you are made worthy, right? They are speaking directly to the audience, to you as a customer, using that you language, right? You are made worthy. And then they go on to say, no matter your past relationships or your past mistakes, relationship status, career choice, or the history that you've come from, you are so worth loving, right? And so they really understand that the first thing they're talking about is not the quality of their t-shirts or how well their t-shirts are. They're not talking about themselves, they're talking about the customer, right? And speaking directly to her. And that's really important as a brand to be able to convey that. And let's go one more example here. This is a brand called Third Love. It's a brand of intimates for women, right?
They crush it.
Love it. And so this is a brand that says we are designed for your enjoyment, right? Parisian lace transformed into bras and underwear made to appeal to you before anyone else. And I want you guys to think about this brand in contrast to a brand like Victoria's Secret, right? Which feels like it's really outdated. And the reason it feels outdated is because that's a brand that says you should look good for other people, right? Or in other words, women should look good for men, and we're going to help you do that. And this brand is the exact opposite of that. This is a modern day brand that says you should look good for yourself. You should feel confident in who you are, right? And they speak directly to that emotional bias that the customer is looking for. And this resonates with a lot of women, especially in 2020, right? And so they know exactly who their audience is, and they know how they're speaking to that audience. Okay, so guys, we have a poll right now about what is your #1 challenge with copywriting, right? And this is really something that is difficult for a lot of people. I know this because this is what people hire us to do, and a lot of people just say we're just not good writers, and there's a lot of different other challenges. So tell us what challenge is the biggest obstacle for you. So I'm going to give you some examples here in terms of how to what I call storyfy your content. In other words, how can you use techniques that we're borrowing from fiction and narrative writing to improve your copywriting? So some of the things you might think about is like, does your copy engage the senses, right? Does it talk about the sights and smells and what something feels like, right? Does it have a lot of personality, right? Are you using descriptive language, descriptive words? Are you capturing a mood, right? A lot of storytelling is just simply like putting the customer in the right mood, or putting the reader in the right mood, and you can do the same thing with a customer, right? Think about characters that we can root for, and talk about features and benefits. So this is I love this example. It's from Method Soap. This example tells me that you can take the most pedestrian product, the most boring product on earth, and make it interesting and make it have a lot of personality, right? And if you can't read this, this is a copy for their mold cider brand of soap, and the copy says the headline is "Fall for This." And there are a lot of reasons to love autumn: brightly colored leaves, crisp, cool weather, spice lattes, cozy sweaters. But we love this season most because it gives us an excuse to showcase a few of our fragrances like pomegranate, mold cider, redwood forest. And then down below is a warm blend of apple, clove, and cinnamon that would make even Frosty melt, right? So I love this because it shows that this brand has a lot of personality. Just with a few words, humor is a great way to engage your customer. And it just shows that it tells you exactly what mold cider would smell like. It reminds you through senses what mold cider would feel like, and it gives you a sense of what it feels like to use this product. But Rhian, from a SEO standpoint, how would you rate the product description here?
I love this
product. Does it have enough details? Yeah.
I think it has just the right amount of details. I know you're going to go into it later, but one thing I'm really adamant about is how do we take that online shopping experience and convert it offline? And what they've been able to do on this page is they've been able to almost make me smell this. And that's going to convert. Because if you don't make us know what something smells like, it's really hard to maybe check out, right? Because we're thinking, we don't really know. Maybe I'm just going to stick with the same one I've always had. Maybe I'll just go out on a limb because it's a holiday aroma, but probably not. And with this, they're able to capture the aroma. You can also tell it is a fall aroma with the fall for this, which I think is really humorous and fun. And it points out that there are fragrances. It's a dish pump, so we know it's dish soap. And with all of those things put together, I would give this product description an A+. Overall, it's phenomenal. And the only thing I don't like is the color of the shop it here button. You didn't ask me that, but that's
okay. Yeah, you're right. That is an odd color right there.
It is an odd color. Maybe it's next to the Method dish soap, so it's jarring because of that beautiful like orangey red, and like the hot pink doesn't quite gel.
Right. No, it does. No, you're absolutely right about that. But this is a great example of where you can pull in people on an emotional basis because you're using personality as to do that, right? And we all respond to personality, right? In our personal everyday lives, and also and how we shop for products and brands, right? So this is another t-shirt company, but I want you guys to read this description here. What I love about this description is in like 4 sentences, it really gives me like, I challenge you to read these 4 sentences and not want to buy this t-shirt right now, right? Because every single word in this description makes you understand what it is and makes you want to buy it, right? The idea that it is a incredibly lightweight, amazingly soft t-shirt made exclusively of the world's best cotton. It gets softer, lighter, and more beloved after each wash, right? Tissue thinness reminiscent of an aged to perfection vintage tee. Like, everything about this makes me want to buy this product. And this is an example of where good copywriting can put you over the top. It can really, you are able to convey what your product feels like, even though they're not touching it. That's the goal here. That's what you want to do.
I think also with this, right, t-shirts are something I see sold very frequently, and it's hard to rank for t-shirt. It is hard. And what I'm thinking in this shirt is you're probably going to rank more for comfortable t-shirt, vintage feeling t-shirt, something like that. But once you've landed on this page, you've sold me this product. And so you've done the hard work on the page, you've navigated the traffic to the page, but you've also just had that, you've injected that competitive advantage. Like, why this t-shirt? Why not the Everlane t-shirt, which is also D2C, right? This is a higher price point by probably $15, $20. Why this one? I'll tell you why. Right. Because it's perfect. And when you set yourself apart like that, you can demand a higher price point and it will convert.
Those are great points. I totally agree.
Ooh, Brightland. I have Brightland.
You know Brightland. You know
Yeah.
Brightland. For those of you who don't know, is a new brand of olive oil. Newish. I think they've been around for a couple of years. They're bottled in California, so all of their olive oil comes from grapes. It comes from olives grown in olive groves in California. And so they've really, what I love about this brand is they've really taken the idea of California as its own brand, like the ethos of California. They've really taken it and developed and infused the brand with this idea of what it means to be part of California, right? Starting off with the name Brightland itself is a reference to California, right? And then what they've done here is this is taken from their About Us page. And they've taken this idea of what it means to live in a golden state. Again, the double entendre, right? Which is like a golden state that obviously refers to California, but then it obviously refers to what it feels like to be part of this brand, what it feels like to be part of the lifestyle that this brand is supporting, right? And you read this copy, you know, what it's doing here is putting you in the mood to think about, just with snippets of phrases and images, right? It puts you in the mood to feel like, oh, this brand really speaks to me, right? This idea of like warm, crusty bread, stew, and a good book, right? Lazy evening strolls, putting away the screens, California life, conscious actions toward better health. These things resonate with a certain, it certainly resonates with their audience that they're trying to go for, an audience that would pay more, maybe a lot more for a bottle of really good olive oil versus just the cheap stuff that you buy at Trader Joe's, right? So I love this kind of copywriting that's really based on storytelling.
Yeah, this is great. This is really great.
So lastly, think about, you know, in marketing, there's this concept of like focusing not so much on the product features itself, but focusing on what your product can do for the consumer, right? What we call outcomes, right? It's more important to focus on the outcome than it is to focus on any individual feature, right? So for example, this is a period cup, right? So, and what they've done here is really focus on the idea that it's all about comfort. It's all about having the freedom to be you, right? So they don't really talk too much about upfront about what their cup is made out of, what it can do, but really how it empowers you as a customer, right? Allows you to be comfortable, allows you to be confident, allows you to be stress-free, right? So think about the outcomes and not necessarily the product features, especially in that top of the funnel homepage copy where you're really just trying to engage people in terms of your product, right? And then lastly, I love this example from Recess, which is, you love Recess?
I think everyone in the audience is going to be like, does she only buy direct to consumer goods? And the answer is kind of, yeah. I do. Well, I've had the pleasure to meet so many great founders along the way. And man, I just love this. And I love how clean all the branding is, which is a whole different subject. But I look at this and I'm like, ooh.
There are a lot of things to love about this brand. But for those of you who don't know, this is a new brand of sparkling water called Recess. It comes out in New York, and it has CBD in it, which is supposed to help you with mental clarity. And so what this brand does, again, the best brands transcend product, right? So sparkling water is a commodity, right? Like every time I go into Whole Foods, I feel like there's a new sparkling water on the shelf, right? And so to really enter this really competitive space, you really need to come in to say, what are we trying to do? Well, we're as a brand, we're trying to help you solve a problem. We're helping you to reset and rebalance in a world where you have a million tabs open on your browser, right? Who hasn't been there before? So it's a brand that really understands its mission and its purpose. And so again, having that kind of focus on what outcome you're providing for your customer, but doing it in a way that speaks emotionally to them, that's good storytelling. That's good copywriting. I want to kind of talk about the poll a little bit here and talk about some of the challenges that our audience is facing. What is the #1 challenge with copywriting for your brand? And 18% said we don't know what to say about a brand. 14% said we don't have skilled copywriters. 16% said we don't have the budget to hire a professional. And a full 50% have had one or more of these problems. And this is obviously why you guys are on our webinar today. But it is very challenging to write good copy. And what I would say is that it's worth the investment if you are not a good writer yourself, or you don't have access to good writers at your company, to really invest in hiring a professional, right? There are three things I think are really good investments for Shopify merchants. One is good copywriting. The other one is great photography. And then the third one I would say is good branding. I mean, I'm a big believer in all three of those things working together to really integrate and have a really tight brand. Would you say, Rhian?
I would agree with that, because really through good copywriting you get a lot of that good SEO. Like a lot of people come and back when I was consulting, most of what I did SEO was copywriting. Whether it was writing copy like this, or if it was writing the meta descriptions or product titles and alt text, whatever it was really led by copy first. And when you look at pages like this, okay, so granted they have a drawing instead of a picture, but this is solidly branded. It has a distinct, it just feels good. This is a great place to put your dollars. I think when there's so many things, when you're starting up, we all know, right? I'm a startup too. A bajillion things to do. And you're like, but where do I start? And I think Phat really nails it in terms of where to start. And I know it can be overwhelming. I've seen some people in the chat say, whatever, I don't have the capital. How should I maybe get going? So Phat, what would your thoughts be on that?
Yeah, I don't think you need to spend a lot of money. Honestly, I've had really good success going to a place like Upwork.
Okay.
I like Upwork a lot because it's a place where you can see high quality freelancers, either graphic design, copywriting, photography, but you can kind of name your price. You can say, this is my budget. This is how much I have to spend on this project, and you will get people bidding for your project. And so and then you can look through their portfolio. You can ask them questions. And then you can start to find people you work with. So I've had a lot of really good success using Upwork. The other place I actually find a lot of good writers and good freelancers is actually on LinkedIn. I'm a big user of LinkedIn. I have something like 6,000 people on LinkedIn, and I find it to be a really great place to find people. You can see where they've worked. You can put postings out there. So I like that. Where have you found good freelancers?
So I actually really like hiring newly graduated MFAs in creative writing, because there tends to be a lot of graduates and not a proportional amount of work. And unfortunately, as you know, a lot of copywriting jobs at big copywriting houses, you need 5 years experience. Well, where are you going to get the experience? We've all been there, right? Trying to get that entry level job, and they're like, you need this much experience. You're like, I have a diploma. So I've had a lot of great experience hiring straight out of their master's program, MFA creative writing.
And how do you get in touch with them?
So I've reached out to, I'm in California, Southern California. So I've reached out to Chapman's writing program directly. I've reached out to just the head of the department. And maybe that's really bold and presumptuous of me, where I'm just like, I'm going to write to the head of the department. But you know what? It doesn't hurt. And there's also job seeking offices in a lot of universities. And when there's the job seeking offices, you can then maybe post the job inside of the office, or what I assume now is going to be a digital job board. So you can get really high caliber talent for not too much money. The other thing I would say is, if you're feeling super overwhelmed, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it myself, because I'm a very DIY person. The number one thing, in my opinion, to do to make yourself a better writer, okay, it's going to sound hokey and you're going to be like, yeah, we know. I guess it's twofold. One, read your butt off. And I don't mean just read nonfiction. I mean, read everything. Read funny books, read creative books, fantasy books, and then write. And then the thing is, when you're writing, sometimes it's almost best to just kind of word vomit out and then go back through and edit it afterwards. Because otherwise you start getting caught in your own head. I know when I was getting my master's degree, every sentence, I'm like, is this good? I don't know. My professor's going to hate me. But you can't do that. You just got to check it out sometimes. Another piece of advice I would do is Google something like 50 top Shopify websites. And you get a list of all the best, quote unquote, best Shopify stores out there, and just look through their copy, right? Or look through for their photography, or look at how they're messaging to their customers. These are some of the best Shopify stores out there, right? And so it really gives you inspiration. And I actually keep a running bookmark of all my favorite stores. Like if I find a store like Recess here or something like that, or a brand, I'm bookmarking and I make sure to go back and look at the copy and figure out, like, really study how they're messaging to their consumer. And we should all, as merchants, have that kind of file, right? To be able to refer to study how other people are doing it, who are really smart and already have launched brands, right? Great. So let's go into product description. Yay! Yes. I love product. I just did a podcast on product description on my podcast. We had a whole thing about it. I love it.
We could go for hours. On the product itself. But what I want to show you here, this is taken from a brand called Ristology, right? And what they have done here is I kind of pointed out all the different things that I love about a really good product page. Number one, really great images, right? They have both product images, which is the product itself, but also lifestyle images that allow you to, so we can see here, if you look here, this is the rest of the product description. You can see how lifestyle photos show you. What I mean by lifestyle photos is the one with that watermelon, the woman with the confetti. Really shows you how you can live out that product within your life, right? And so they also have a really clear call to action. And something I really like is what I call including objection busters, right? So these are things that help. These things that help people, kind of brings people over the decision to buy, right? So for example, having your warranty or having your shipping policy really clear on there. So that's one of the things that might stop people from buying. So you want to address that really clearly. And then every product needs to have some sort of description, some sort of what I call a product story. And I think you'll be amazed that a lot of brands just don't have product descriptions, or the product descriptions are super short. And I think that's a mistake both from a storytelling, copywriting, and SEO perspective. Is you need to have some sort of product story or some sort of product description to engage your customers, right? So what if you can't read it, here's what this product description says. It's for a women's watch. It says, FYI, we found your day to night go-to. Consider Olivia your new BFF, charming, stylish, and totally reliable. This must-have women's boyfriend watch features a large white face with subtle scallops in rose gold and a slim leather strap in soft gray. She looks just as good getting morning coffee as she does enjoying dinner and a movie. Versatility for the win. What I love about this product description is there's a lot of personality here, but it does more than that, right? It tells you there's a lot of great keywords here, right? In terms of what the watch what the watch actually entails, and then also just paints that picture, right, of like how you can fit this watch into your lifestyle, right? She looks just as good getting morning coffee as she does enjoying dinner and a movie, right? It's a great way to talk about what the watch can do for you in a way that feels really organic, feels really natural. It's just like having a conversation with your customer, right? This is really good copywriting, really good storytelling that also is really strong on an SEO basis as well. So when you put together product pages, really have really great product and lifestyle shots, include a description with every product, and then think about features and benefits, right? So what do I mean by that? This is a product description that's taken from Zappos. It's a product description for a pair of boots that they have, right? And what they've done here is in their bullets, they start off by telling you what the feature is, and then they tell you why that feature is important. In other words, they tell you the benefit of that feature, right? So one feature of this boot is that it has plush, deep pile, full fur lining. Well, what does that mean? Well, why should I care? Well, because it's really good for warm, cold weather insulation, right? It has dual side stretchy textile goring panels. Now, if you just told me in your bullet point that it had textile goring panels, I actually would not know what that means at all. But the fact is that these panels help you get your boot easy on and off, right? That it has seamless construction because it gives you uninterrupted comfort, right? So this is a really good way of structuring your bullet points, especially, right? Tell us what your feature is, but then tell us why that's important. Tell us what are the benefits of that feature, right? So I really like to use this kind of framework for a product bullet points, especially. So Rhian, how would you look at this from an SEO perspective, what they've done here?
I mean, I love that it gives you a really full description and idea.
Yeah.
And I had to jump real quick, so I'm sorry I missed your last slide. One thing I would worry about is how this compresses onto mobile, because this is a lot of text at one time. So it's like, like how many scrolls is that on an iPhone? But besides that, I love how descriptive it is, and it gives you a full understanding. And it also backs up so many keywords, right? And so no matter what I'm searching for, if this is the solution, this is ranking for it.
Yes.
I would assume
there are a lot of keywords.
There
are a lot of keywords in here.
There's a lot of keywords in here in a way that doesn't feel stuffed. So that's good.
I think you could chop this down a little bit. I think you could get a little bit tighter with the copy. You're absolutely right about that. But it does give you a lot of keywords, and it does tell you exactly what it does and why you should care. So that's the end of our presentation part of it. But I do want to talk about the polls, and then we're going to go into the product tool, and then we're going to go into some looking at some of your own websites, which I love. So one question we had is, do you feel confident articulating your USP or your unique selling proposition? And 30% of you said yes, so bravo. 44% of you said no, I'm having a hard time with that. And then 25% actually, what does the USP even mean? So obviously you guys have come to the right place to help you articulate what that USP is. What I would say is one kind of exercise that you might want to do is kind of like that example we showed you from Year in a Day, where they said, we make it easy to set a table you love. And that is, if you can't articulate what your brand does in one line, in one sentence, or maybe two sentences at the most, you need to go back to the drawing board and be able to do that. So what I do in my workshops is literally sit people down, and we go around the room, and everyone has to articulate what their one sentence is. Can you tell me what you do in one sentence, how you help your customers, and why I should buy your product, right? Turns out that the best shoes are made out of wool, right? Or the most comfortable shoes in the world are made out of wool. Can you give me a line like that for your brand? And so part of understanding you at USP is being able to articulate it in a very short, powerful way, especially on your homepage. So I'm going to end this presentation now. Let's see here, so that we can go back to what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into the product tool, Rhian, and I'm going to show people some tips and best practices that we should be doing. So let's see here. Okay, so let me share my screen.
I have some gems to add for y'all on this page.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, let me share this. And here is my, do you see the, okay, great. So this is, what I've done is taken that wristwatch example, and I've made a product description out of it. So here is the, so Rhian, what the part that you missed is I went into why I love this product description, because it's just a really good example of really good storytelling, shows a lot of personality, but also shows you, also has a lot of keywords that shows you exactly why you might want to buy this product, right? That it's rose gold, it has a slim leather strap, it's a women's boyfriend watch, and so there are a lot of details here that help you consider what you're buying. And then what I also love is this. What I call objection busters, right? So, so the idea is that, when people are considering whether to buy or not, they have a lot of reasons not to buy, right? So you're giving them reasons to buy, right? So for example, the idea that you have free shipping, or that the return is easy, maybe that you pay the return both ways, right? And that there's a warranty right here. So what I would do here is actually link, for example, link to your shipping policy right within the product page, right? Or link to your warranty, or link to your return policy right within the product page, right?
Yeah, I love that. It also builds internal links, which helps with SEO, and it also builds trustworthiness. So a dual whammy win right on that product description, plus a ton of keywords up in this description, which I'm loving.
Great. One question for you, Rhian, is the title. How do you feel like in terms of from an SEO perspective? How much should you be putting in that title? Does it feel natural, just even in the way that I've done it here?
I think so. Olivia scalloped rose gold women's wristwatch. I think that's good. Yes, because that's what's going to get scraped by Google or crawled by Google. That will auto-populate in your product title down the page, and I think that's fine. That's good.
Now, what if I just said Olivia watch? Should I have it just a short like that, or should I have it longer?
The problem if you just say Olivia's watch, if you have brand like domain authority, like if you're Rolex, you can kind of do whatever you want, right? Or Cartier, you could just be like Cartier watch, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's like $15,000. This, while you're still building up your brand, you have to be more descriptive in your title. So like even Movement, when they first started, they were a lot more descriptive than they are now in their title. And they've been on the front page for watches for like years now. But
I see.
In the beginning, when it all started, when we started e-commerce, I'm just kidding. The title, I think this is perfect because otherwise you're just another women's watch.
I absolutely agree with you. And you made an amazing, excellent point. When you are starting out, you need to do more to get people to understand who you are and what your product does, right? So again, that one-liner or the example we showed you from Cow Hugger, where we talked about what kind of brand we are, what we're trying to do. Now, obviously, when you go to Nike.com, Nike doesn't need to do that because we all know what Nike is, right? So they are obviously not going to say, we're an athletic brand for high achievers, right? They don't need to do that. But you, as a new brand, need to do more work to get people engaged with your brand, right? So I'm going to go down here to the search engine portion here. Tell us what you would do here in terms of so obviously what's happening here is the product description basically has gotten pasted into here, but is that the right thing to do?
No. So two things. One is right now Shopify's using 320 characters because Google came out, and I can't even remember which release they're on. We just had another core algorithm update like 3 days ago. So SEO people like me we're just always scrambling. Just what happened yesterday? What happened today? Why are the rankings changing? So it used to be 320 characters. That's changed. And Google announced it changed to 160. However, I'm noticing truncation at 130 pretty consistently. So that hasn't been announced anywhere. That's just what I've observed over several thousand stores. So I would say I would keep this under 130, especially because...
So this is too long, then you're saying?
Way too long. On mobile especially, mobile always truncates at 130.
Okay. And so you really need to rewrite this portion.
You need to rewrite it, and you want to write it like, why am I clicking on the blue link? Sell me the blue link. Like what I was talking about earlier, headline and then byline. Tell me why I want to click on this, why this should convert. And that's how it should be written. So off the top of my head, you can almost just cut the fluff that makes good copywriting, condense it down, and you could probably get that down to 130 characters ish.
Right. I see. So
well, maybe not that much.
A lot of this stuff here, right?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe. Right. So, some stuff here, but I get your point, right? I would venture to say a lot of people don't even touch this, and that's obviously a mistake. So you really need to kind of do the extra effort here to make sure that your description and your copy is SEO friendly. So those are great examples. I'm gonna stop sharing and go back to where's the here we are. Here, okay, so we're back here. Let me look at the polls again and see if we have any other polls. No. Rhian, did you get anything from the chat in terms of questions that people were having? Did you notice any questions that we should answer before we move on?
I saw some questions. I always feel like the chat moves so fast, y'all, which is always good, but it's hard for me to keep track. I will say.
There's one from Jackie. She says,
yes.
I have seen some brands add 1 or 2 lines about who they are in the product descriptions. Do you recommend doing that, or is that too much? So I don't think there's any harm in doing that. I think it's a really good way of, especially as a new brand, to message who you are. I think we had a poll about Hans. If we can put up the poll about we can put up the poll about how long your product description should be, because I'm really curious what the audience thinks, because I think there's some debate here about product description length. And Rhian, I think you missed the part where I said, you'll be surprised at how many people don't have any product descriptions at all, or a very short, maybe a 1-line description. Yeah. And I think that's a mistake, both from a storytelling, copywriting, SEO perspective, right? There are a lot of reasons to have at least something there to engage your customer with, right? And I think a lot of people just don't want to go through that work. And I think it's important to have some sort of story there, right?
You have to have something. And I know, especially, let's say you're a drop shipper, or you're doing print on demand, it feels like a lot of work, because it is a lot of work. And it's just one of those things that I'm sure we've heard the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. And if you do have 1,000 products on your store, I would literally every day time block in your calendar. I'm doing 10 products in the morning every single day and go through. And I know it's hard because I've been the one doing it. And I know sometimes it sucks because I've been the one doing it, but it's essential to be getting found. I don't think that's correct. To get found on Google, and also to build up that brand authority that you want and you need. And like Phat said earlier, Nike doesn't have to do the same thing because they're Nike. That's a household name. McDonald's doesn't have to do it. We know who McDonald's is. When you're starting up, no one knows you yet. But that's okay, because you can make them get to know you through good storytelling, through good copywriting, through discoverability, through search. But you have to teach them. You have to teach them. Otherwise, it's just not inherent.
Yeah. So everyone, go into the polls, and we'd love for you to take to tell us how long you think product descriptions should be, because I think this is a really interesting question for everyone. So we'll give you some time to do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to go back into the chat and see if there's any other questions that we might handle. When you have a site that has hundreds of SKUs, how do you recommend tackling the efficiency or efficacy of the site? Work on the SEO for the site as a whole, or try to do SEO detailed product descriptions for each item? That's Joseph's question. So this is a question for you, Rhian.
Okay, so I have a controversial take on this, a spicy take, if you will. And so there's obviously templating software that exists. That's not new. Don't use it. And the reason why is because it just creates this boring, robotic content, and Google sees through it. Google uses a ton of different algorithms, but they use one specifically called BERT, which is like an acronym for a bunch of words that are super long. But essentially, it helps deliver accurate results 86% of the time. Like, as in, it produces better results than a human does in answering your question. However, if Google thinks you're gaming the system, Google can downrank you or totally pull you out. So anything that's remotely gray, I just don't do. I know it's hard, though. I recognize both sides of it. I will recognize that it is a lot of work to do, but just, you can do it. I believe in you. But it's, you can do some templating, I guess, for the product title. But outside of that, I would not do it for meta description. I wouldn't do it for alt text. And the problem with it when you do it for a product description is people see through it, not just Google, because Google doesn't actually crawl your product title, but people look at your product title and it needs to be clickable. I don't know if I really answered that. It's a super complex issue.
Yeah,
but
we can go. We can go.
Yeah,
A long
I'm like,
time into
that's
that,
a whole. That's a
and
whole.
I'm sure you're gonna do another webinar for Shopify. I'm sure. So
Yes.
look out for another masterclass on SEO. Nick had a question: does Google ding you if your SEO is longer than 160 characters, meaning your product a meta description there?
They don't ding you; they just truncate it. So the end of so all of your hard work that you've written, it will just end up with ... Yeah.
Right. How do you resolve? Michelle wants to know, how do you resolve the difference between value proposition and keywords? So that's an interesting. Well, what I would say is that. There are a lot of opportunities for Google to pick up you crawl your site. So we're not just, don't feel like you're bound by that one line, right? Because it's going to crawl the rest of your site. It's going to crawl your blog. So there are other ways to show Google to give Google the context of what you're talking about. So don't feel like you're just bound by that one line. Is that correct, Amir?
100%. And I want to touch on something you just said, because you said the word blog. How important is a blog? I'm like you must have a blog person. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you don't have words on the page, there's no way Google is going to crawl
100%.
Crawl your site. So the more words you have, and so these days Google understands context. Right?
Yes.
So what's the word for that? There's
neural matching.
Okay. Right. And so it used to be the way you gamed Google was you tried to put as many of the right keywords, over and over and over again. And what Google now understands is the context of your page. Is your website talking about all the aspects of your product? So for example, if you are selling coffee, right? You're talking about the temperature of the water, you're talking about the beans, you're talking about the grind, you're talking about the aroma, and all these clues tell Google this is a website that understands coffee, right? And it doesn't repeat the word coffee over and over again.
Yeah, you don't have to keep saying coffee. They gets it.
And so Google rewards you for good content because it helps create this time spent on the page. It creates this context, and so a blog is essential for that kind of ranking juice.
Absolutely. And the other benefit of a blog is it creates constant new product. So let's say you're a brand like Recess and you have maybe, I know they launched multiple products, but let's say they have their one flagship product and they don't change it for 6 months. And that means their page is kind of stagnant, right? But Google's looking for fresh content all of the time. So in an ideal world, for SEO, I'm looking for a blog once a week. I don't know what your frequency is. For frequency. I'm thinking once a week, over 500 characters, really easy breezy, easy to read, internal links, sometimes some external links, but it's critical. And you might all be thinking, but no one's going to read my blog. And A, they will, I swear, but B, if no one reads it, Google will. So that's that's also important.
Yeah, I think about what I call the 3 C's of content, which is create content consistently. Because the number one reason a blog fails is because people stop doing it.
Yes.
Right? And you see a lot of blogs, and we're guilty of this sometimes too on our blog, is that you have a blog and it hasn't been updated in a year because people get busy, right? And so what you're saying is like, whatever your cadence is, once a week, once a month, keep at it. And I think of content as a savings account. The more you put in, the bigger returns you get over time, right? So
I like that.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions, but actually what we're going to do is we're going to have to move to our live coaching session. So what we're going to do is just pick at random a few websites to look at, and we're just going to pick them. And so if you guys have something you want us to look at, pop it in. Of course, we won't be able to go over everybody, but we'll pick a few that we like and just give you some feedback.
Or just pick some that we can grab is normally what happens.
There's like a ton here that's coming up. Let's see here. Whoa, There's so many. Are you getting some here, Rhian, that you want to?
I'm trying to. Hold on.
Wow, this is like a million.
Okay, I think I got one. I think I got one.
Okay.
I think I got Dandelion Sun. Does that sound right? If not, we're about to do
Sure.
a review of a.
Do you want to pop that in to me? You want to chat that over to me?
Yes,
and
I
then pull it
will.
up?
Okay, I'm going to send it over to you right now. Did you grab it?
Let's see here. Dandelionsun.com. Okay, I'm going to pull it up here. Okay. Okay, so this is a swimwear or women's boutique I'm looking at. Okay, we're on the right page, I think. Do you want to pull that up on your screen share?
I would be happy to.
Or do you want me to do that?
I can do it. Let's see. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Perfect, it's working. Great. All right, I'm gonna actually reload it real quick, and the reason why is I want to see how long it takes for that pop-up to come. Okay, one thing, I would give yourself just a little bit more time for that pop-up. I like that it doesn't block the whole page because Google can downrank you for that, but just give a person a little bit more time because you also don't want to do a race to the bottom, over discount yourself. Because otherwise people are just going to think, oh, I can always get 10% off. I can just use a different email. You know, people will start to game you, and you don't want that in your life.
And you have the two pop-ups, the one on the left and the one on the right. And so suddenly, and then also the auto load on the carousel. So I'm seeing a lot of things happening all at once, and it feels to me a little bit distracting, right?
I concur. I also, I normally partner up with Kelly, and she's my co-host of my podcast, Commerce Tea. She is very anti-slideshow. And I am as well, because this is moving fast.
I absolutely agree with you. And research shows that, especially on a slideshow where you have to move the panels yourself, most people don't actually bother to do that. And so what happens is that it's basically wasted real estate, right? Because people don't bother looking through the carousel. And also, I think the carousel here, is moving way too fast for me. So I'm having a hard time actually reading the copy myself.
Yeah. And plus the button is moving. It's going from the right to the left to the right. It's bouncing, which is challenging. But okay, I'm going to click in though. So we can dig in and
one piece of feedback. So what I see here is I'm still having a hard time understanding
what it is,
what you're selling, right? I kind of have an idea. It's skincare, it's sun care, is it sun lotion? But then there's this line that says feels like summer, which you know, it's kind of like what we used to say at Yahoo was, you know, it's better to be clear than clever, right? And so like I feel like that's kind of what's happening here, is like it's kind of a clever piece of, or a nice piece of writing, but it actually doesn't tell me a whole lot of what's going on, and like what I'm gonna, like, what are you trying to sell me, and what's the benefit of using your brand, right? Or your product.
I'm going to be honest. I thought that this was an apparel site until you pointed that out.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you're confused about exactly what's being sold here. Another thing that we talked about earlier is like be very clear about what you're selling.
Yes.
So you want to let's click into the boutique and see what we got.
Whoa, this is a whole other thing. Okay, this should all be surfaced way above. Okay, but let's shop the boutique. Oh. So it is part of. So there is some apparel here, right? There is some apparel. But I'm getting the impression based off of the homepage when I scroll down that the sun care, skincare is actually like the prime product.
Yeah. So what I see, what I think is happening here is that this is a brand that is really helping you enjoy the sun in a way that either dress right because it's really sunny, or take care of your skin because it's really sunny, or have sunblock, right? So it's all tied together by this idea that like we're helping you kind of be out in the sun, but be out in the sun in a way that feels stylish, in a way that is healthy for your skin, in a way that makes you look good. And so this is part of what good storytelling, good copywriting is, that you're not tying in that big theme, which we're piecing together, but your average customer is not going to spend the time to do that, right? We have, and so this is where, when you really step back and say, what am I doing? Can I articulate what I'm doing in one line, which is basically helping people deal with the sun in a way that feels healthy, in a way that looks beautiful, in a way that helps their skin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would also, just as a comment, I would add the add to cart and buy with Shop Pay up here, just in case you just want to remove any barrier to entry or any roadblock to checkout, especially because you have Shop Pay. I'm like queen of Shop Pay. I'm like, oh, I want to buy it. Click, now I've bought it, and which is dangerous, I will admit. But if I wanted to buy this, I have to read this. There's a video, and I've got to scroll all the way down, and now I can either add to cart or buy with Shop Pay. So I would just advocate to move that up from a user experience CRO perspective. What do you think about this copywriting though? I
can't really read it, but let me
too far?
Let me look over through my. You want to read it just quickly?
Yes,
and then
I shall.
Yeah.
A 4-in-1 face moisturizer that protects against free radicals and UVA/UVB rays while replenishing the skin's moisture, leaving it soft and supple. This lightweight antioxidant-rich cream with broad-spectrum SPF 30 is vegan, contains no parabens, fragrance, and cruelty-free. Bursting with vitamin C and E, avocado oil, squalene, Japanese green tea leaf extract, and frankincense, this clinically proven formulation hydrates and brightens the skin while reducing the appearance of wrinkles and fine lines for all skin types.
I think there are a lot of good keywords in there. I feel like there's a lack of personality. It feels a little bit robotic almost. I think there's some work that can be done to make the copy feel more friendly and accessible and casual and conversational.
Yes, 100%. And again, if this is your core product, which I think it is, surface this. I almost think if this boutique is drop shipped, I don't know if it is, I would cut the boutique and just do sun care, skincare if that's your core brand. That's my personal take on it, because you don't want to do too many things. Otherwise, people don't understand, like, what are you selling, right? Which is one of your points from earlier. It's like, what are you selling? Well, if you're selling sun care and skincare, sell sun care and skincare. So that would be.
Rhian, I have a brand that I want us to look at.
Perfect.
It's called Jules. I'm sorry. Here Jules Bryant. Julius Bryant. I just dropped it into the. I'll drop it again into the chat. It's at the top of your chat.
Oh gosh. Okay. I see it.
You see it?
Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna start this. And can you see it?
Yep.
Oh, again with the pop-up. I'm also very anti-pop-up for those of you who've never taken a course with me before. So some of you are probably rolling your eyes with me.
And are you anti-pop-up completely, or would you recommend a certain amount of time, or how would you think about that?
So Google laid out really specific rules about interstitials, which is what a pop-up is. And a pop-up like this is in the middle of your screen, and it actually blocks Google from crawling. So I would say if you must do a pop-up, wait 10 to 15 seconds. Don't serve it to me right away, because I would think of it more as, and this is going to sound silly, but it's like if you walk into Nordstrom and you're like going into the perfume area and the cosmetics area, and someone stops you with like a giant sign and it's like, give me your email address, you can't come in. I'd be like, why am I here? And I would leave. You don't want people to bounce here. You've done all this work to get people to your store. You don't want them to bounce. So A, Google doesn't like it. B, people don't like it. Just wait a minute.
What I find really annoying is when it happens on mobile and I can't figure a way to get rid of the pop-up.
and Google will downrank you for that. They've already said that they can pull you out. I've seen people get literally on the front, from being on the front page to being totally pulled out of the rankings for it.
I see. And so how would you replace the pop-up?
I like a top bar that slides down, or a bottom bar that slides up. I think that's nice. Right. I don't mind to slide in from, the right or left side. I will say the only caveats to this are if you have to be GDPR compliant, that doesn't count for an interstitial, or B, if you have to age gate, if you're selling cannabis products or alcohol products or et cetera, vice industry.
What about the announcement bar that you see? Like a lot of people use free shipping or whatever for that.
Yeah, you can do it up there. I don't always love an announcement bar, but I feel like that's a personal.
Okay. So let's go into this website here. My first impression is that you are not taking advantage of your real estate. Again, that above the fold content. So the first thing we see is a really beautiful image, but the only copy here I'm seeing is shop the collection.
Yeah.
You're not telling me what kind of brand you are. Obviously you're selling jewelry, but you're not telling me anything about your jewelry. You're not telling me who your audience is, what kind of brand, what kind of person that you're trying to get in front of. So I think there's kind of a wasted opportunity or missed opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, why is your jewelry special? I want to know, because I think it is special. It looks beautiful. So is this handmade? Why this jewelry? And maybe we can find.
I think there's some copy at the when you scroll down, which is rare and beautiful, real and true. Getting noticed is nice, being treasured is timeless. The JB collection is the perfect marriage of rough and refined, fierce and feminine. So I really like that. This is this is giving me a really good idea of, or a better idea of the brand. So I'm really liking this copy. I would want it to be higher up on the page, right? And so that because you don't want the reader or the viewer to really work at it. You want it to be kind of really upfront. Should we click into a product page and see what that looks like?
I like this.
Okay, which one is that? The Meg Large?
The Meg Large 14K gold necklace. I like that you have a firm on this. This seems like the type of price point to have a firm on, by the way. Yeah. Again, though, at Move Up Shop Pay. Move add to cart up right here.
Okay, I think product images are great. Really beautiful, really clean. I like that you have both product images and lifestyle images. Really, really nice here. Let me just read the description here. The 14 gold carat large is a hammered concave medallion with a satin finish and extended with a 5 diamond cluster in the lower corner. A stunning piece alone, a layer within a charm like the Avella's charm only. I think this is fine. What I might want is a little bit more, maybe a line or two more about how you might want to wear this necklace, like what you might pair, like what kind of clothes you might pair, what kind of occasion you might want to use it in. Is it more of a casual piece, or is it more of a special occasion piece that you pull out, right? So like, tell me a little bit more about how I might want to wear this, and it's so that I can understand whether I should buy it for my lifestyle or not. But Rhian, what do you think about the bullet descriptions from an SEO perspective here?
I think the bullet descriptions make sense here. I would say the designed and hand forged in our studio in coastal Southern California. I want to know that so much earlier. Like, I want to know if I'm spending $2,300 or $2,400 on a necklace, that it is handmade by a person in Southern California. Because to me, that is a differentiator, and to a lot of people, that's a differentiator. So I feel like that up here, right?
No, I feel like that. No, I feel like that should be on the homepage.
Yeah. 100% on the homepage.
Yeah. I feel like that. You're absolutely right in that, because there's so many jewelry brands, right? There are 40 5% of the people in this webinar are jewelry and apparel. So how do you differentiate? And so that's a big differentiator for me, at least, and for you too, is sort of like, where is it made, who's making it, and how is it being made? Those are really key descriptions that you want to show, because at the end of the day, marketing is about differentiation. Marketing is about helping the consumer pick one brand from another, right? And the more that you can do that, the better, the more powerful your copy is going to be.
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to pick another one?
Let's see. Okay. Should we do one more?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. I was able to grab one easily. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can drop that into the chat.
I will drop it into the chat.
Wow. I would love to like spend 3 hours going through all these websites, because
I
there's
know
cool
there's so
websites.
many cool ones. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up to screen share now. And there we are.
So what is the URL?
Bootstarusa.com.
Bootstarusa.com.
Yes.
Okay. Bootstarusa.com. Okay.
There we go. Can everybody see me sharing? Okay, perfect. Well, I know you're selling boots because you tell me a bunch of times, so that's good.
And we're seeing a lot of boots, so we know what you're selling. That's great. But again, and I think we see this with a lot of brands. Is there's no upfront, there's no kind of messaging about who we are as a brand, what kind of customer we're aiming to get, right?
Right.
There needs to be, I think again, it's as a new brand, as an upstart brand, really want to be able to articulate what type of customer you think you're getting in front of, or yeah.
And especially, so I saw this earlier, especially if you're going to throw prices like $495 at a person, I feel like, and there's nothing wrong with being upmarket. Not like normally when I go outside, I am a huge lover of shoes, and these are super cute. But I feel like you need to say something up here about it being upmarket and tell the story of why I'm about to spend $500 on a pair of boots.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a story down below where we say, "Welcome to the Sunset Strip."
Oh, all the way down here.
And then I love this story. Maybe can be a little bit shorter. There's a lot of copy here, I think, for a homepage, but also like, so we're talking about cowboy boots, right? But like, I think there's in that first kind of above the fold area, you can just tell us like what kind of cowboy boots these are for what type of customer, right? So for example, let's make this up, cowboy boots for the modern girl, or whatever it is, right? Because cowboy boots are obviously an iconic boot, right? But you're kind of making them more. You're trying to fit them into a more modern perspective, right? And so the idea is, so that's what I'm trying to say, is that we want to position it in a way that it's really clear about what kind of shoe we're selling and what kind of customer would buy this shoe, right? That's how good copywriting works. Is we're trying, you're doing the work for the consumer, right? So they don't have to guess.
Yeah, because I get the impression that I'm not wearing this specific boot out on the ranch. I mean, maybe I say that like I go to a ranch, but I feel like I'm not wearing this specific. Do you like how I've picked the boot that I would buy? I wouldn't be wearing this out when I'm riding a horse. So
So let's click into the Stars Chelsea in black and gold and look at the product description.
All right.
So here's an example where we only have product shots and no lifestyle photos. So that's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
SARS Chelsea and Black Goat is a handmade women's ankle cowboy boot using black cowboy leather with metallic gold, black leather lining and a sleek finish and gore side openings, made in Mexico for one of the largest handmade boot factories in the world. Okay, so I'm not sure that for me personally, I'm not sure that a boot coming from the largest homemade boot factories is necessarily something that that would pull me in. Maybe if it was like the highest quality handmade boot factory, but large I don't think is necessarily a selling
right
point
word
here. Yeah.
Maybe prestigious, or like, I don't know. I don't think prestigious is the right word, but something that gets that point across. So,
right. These artisans in Mexico have been making boots for 200 years or 100 years, and we're one of the few people who work with them or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit more storytelling here, right? It's pretty straightforward, right? So I know this takes some work, especially if you have like 100 SKUs, right? But a little bit more storytelling in terms of like what, you know, because this is a pretty bold boot, right? Like I don't think a lot of people can pull this off, and so I think that there's some kind of copy that kind of speaks to that
Like
kind of
unleash your inner rock star or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Something there that shows some sort of personality, that injects some sort of understanding about how this can fit into your wardrobe, right? And so I think that it really helps people fit or understand whether I should buy this boot or not.
Yeah. Or like stars are the new neutral. I could think of a bunch of stuff for this. You could spice this. You could spice this up a lot.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Because I think the product is solid. You just need to sell it to me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I don't know that product details, that line right there, I don't know why that's showing up like that, but I would love to have some sort of like subhead or some sort of headline where it's like it gives me a bit of more of the story rather than just saying product details. I feel like there's a missed opportunity there again to kind of tell a story. Absolutely.
Beautiful stuff though.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love a great boot. So if they are made in Mexico, why is your brand have used in it? Julie says, why is your brand made in Mexico? Is that you're asking, I think? These all okay. So guys, we're gonna I think we're gonna conclude our presentation today. We would love to spend hours looking at your websites.
Yes.
I do all the time for my clients, but sorry, we can't spend all the time. I really love this part of the presentation, but we have to close it somehow. My last words of advice is that taking that time to again articulate what you think your brand does for your consumer. I always think about copywriting in terms of like, how are you empowering your customer? How are you helping them live a better life or make it easier for them, more convenient, whatever it is that you think you're doing for your customer, right? We make it easy to set a table you love. Make sure that you can articulate that line for yourself. Spend the time to do that and make sure it's conveyed on your website, especially up high and above the front, as we say. And so that's kind of my parting words of wisdom. What would you say, man?
My parting words of wisdom are as I make a grammar. Use grammar. The path to a great store is more of a marathon, less of a sprint, and it's totally okay if you have to walk sometimes. And that's and so if you're
meaning you have to you have to spend some time.
You've got to spend some time, and if you feel frustrated, it's okay, because we all feel frustrated when we're building our stores. even people who do it
Right.
professionally.
And so you don't necessarily have to fix the SEO metadata tags on all your products all at once, spend like 1 million hours doing that. But over time, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure all your tags, all your headlines, they all are working for you, right?
100%. And also, if you don't think you can do it, you absolutely can. Just take a deep. That's been my mantra though for the last few months. Is like, I'm like, right. Take a deep breath. So I thank you all for joining us today. It's been great to see you all. And thank you for joining.
Everyone take care of yourself, wash your hands, and wear your mask.
Absolutely. Be well.
Okay, guys, have a great day. Talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.